Hello, playtesters. Welcome back. Thank you guys for waiting. It's been about 4 months since the last playtest, and we're almost ready to get started with the next playtest build, which is going to be 0.41. I wanted to make this video because a lot of things have changed in the strategy layer. A lot. I mean, literally everything has changed. So, and the tutorial's not yet ready, and the tooltips are not all there. So, I just wanted to help you kind of get started, hit the ground running. So this video will explain how everything works now. If you're not a playtester, you're just coming in to check up on the game. First of all, thank you for doing that and staying in touch and supporting the game. As always, just keep in mind everything you see here is, it's subject to change. I know I say that a lot, and I'm pretty sure it's been annoying to hear that so much, but I think we're actually at the end of this long 18-month process, or 18-month long process of designing the strategy layer. I can't believe it's taken that long, but I think we're almost there. So let's get to it. So just quickly, the prior playtest, there were three main points of feedback. One is that the rewards didn't feel good. They weren't meaningful. Instead of getting a reward for like winning a battle, you actually just got handed a bunch of hoops to jump through. And it was quite annoying. Like, for example, if you wanted to increase the number of soldiers, first you had to capture an ice mine, then a farm, then send the ice to the farm, set up the logistics, get, workers, assign the workers to the farm, increase the food output. Finally, that allows you to grow your population, get more immigrants coming in, and then you can assign some of them to the training camp. And then finally you get soldiers. So it was this really convoluted process, and it didn't feel good to actually win a battle because you don't get anything immediate. So that was point number one. The rewards didn't feel good. Number two is that there wasn't enough direction given to the player. They just kind of got dropped into the sandbox, and they don't know what to do. So that was number two. And number three was that probably as a result of crappy rewards and a lack of direction, the game just didn't have any kind of strategic juice. There was not a lot of strategic thinking, and it all just felt like a bunch of vanilla bleh crap. So basically the loop was just not good. So the biggest change is that rewards are now front loaded. And what that means is when you capture a new territory, you get an immediate reward, like more soldiers, better guns, more immediate abilities, immediate like research unlocked. And also B, you get to invest the resources from that territory immediately. Previously resources were stockpiles, now they're flows. And what I mean by that is previously if you captured a mine, every turn it would give you 10 resources, so you slowly stockpile 10, 20, 30, 100, and then you invest that stockpile into something and it goes down to zero, and you repeat that process. So there was a lot of kind of waiting and managing, these numbers going up and down. Now you get the flow of output from that mine. So you get the entire output to play around with immediately. It's a little bit like, like running a business or something. If you know that your business generates $100 a month, then you can invest that cash flow into something like, if you invest $40 into employee salaries, you get $100 coming in, $40 coming out, you have the remaining $60 to invest into something else. It's a little bit like that. So when you capture a mine, you get to allocate, its output immediately. So let's look at some actual examples here. I know you've been looking at the screen. This is the new Mars. The map has changed quite a bit. You can probably tell that there aren't any more individual like mines and then outposts and things like that. Things are now kind of chunked up into blocks of infrastructure. And so these blocks now make up almost everything. And there are three types of infrastructure. There's energy, logistics, and civilian. And I'll explain each one in detail, but at a high level for the labor campaign, energy immediately gives you better weapons. Logistics immediately lets you move more soldiers and weapons across Mars. And then civilian infrastructure immediately gives you more soldiers. So Besides infrastructure, there are other like important story locations that move the campaign forward. There's also a lot of hidden little things like points of interest for special missions and stuff like that. But the bread and butter are you'll be capturing sectors of infrastructure. So this is just after the opening mission, and the game will spawn you into one of the 3 points of infrastructure. That's where the first uprising happens, the worker uprising. So in this case, the worker uprising began on energy infrastructure. So you can see like there's the redox mine and some solar panels, and I think this is like a battery manufacturing facility. Redox, if you're not familiar with the game, redox is a special element that we found on Mars that made us want to come here in the first place. You can make these very powerful magnetic batteries with redox. So we spawned on energy infrastructure. Immediately that means I have access to stronger weapons. So if I come here to my weapon design, you can see I'm already at level 1, and I can already make some crude weapons, and they're not very good, but it's better than nothing, and it'll help quite a bit already. And so that's because we captured this place. If we hadn't captured it, this menu would not even be available. It would say, you're at level 0, you can't make weapons. So you would have to go and capture an energy infrastructure to be able to even begin that. But it also means that I have access to this resource flow of energy. And by default, energy flows into research. So any excess energy that you have will flow into research. So immediately we get a head start in terms of research, but also we can go in and we can allocate that energy into creating a building, for example. And so we could build an antenna which will help our infiltration, like spying efforts. And if I did this, I would permanently spend this 50 onto this antenna. You'll see an antenna pop up here. And which means I only have 50 left. So only 50 would flow into research. So it's a big decision, but it's an important one, and it's a permanent one. So as you make more and more of these decisions, they stack up to create, the foundation of your organization here on Mars. But then, I can go and capture, this is another energy infrastructure. So I would be, if I spent 50 to build that antenna, I capture this, I get 150, so my research, picks up immediately. I get access to even better weapons. So over here, I'll be able to make 6 improvements now because level 2. And I can build more antennas, or I can build other things. It's not just research and buildings. Energy is used for a lot of things. But I'll let you explore all that stuff. But that's, how energy works. Number 2 is logistics. So for example, this is a logistics infrastructure block. You can see there's like some drones and haulers and stuff. And logistics also means manufacturing. So you can see there's like a materials mine here. So it's logistics and manufacturing. It's kind of like your operations, capability on Mars. What this does is it immediately, as soon as you capture it, it increases how many units you can have in the field. So if I take a look at my squad, right now the squad's logistic cost, even though they have nothing equipped, it's already 30. I think it's 5 per soldier. So, 6 soldiers times 5, 30. So this is already eating half of my logistics cost. Now, it's not applied until I step outside of friendly territory, but nonetheless, you can see, and then as I, for example, have these weapons that I got from the guards who I overpowered, and you can see my cost going up as I equip more. Because, we're on Mars. Mars is, it's a difficult environment, and so it takes a lot of coordination and resources to move people as well as equipment across Mars. So if I equip everyone, I'm already past my limit, so I wouldn't be able to move the squad. They cannot move, so you don't see the arrow anymore. And I'll improve the UI to make it more clear that you can't move, that you're over the limit, but you get the idea. When I go under, then I can, begin to move. And So this is not even, this is, in the beginning, you get 60 for free just to be able to move your starting squad. This is like the base level of logistics that you always have. So this is my starting amount, and it's not much because right now this squad is very poorly equipped. Even though they have guns, they don't have any armor, for example. This is the bare minimum. So you will pretty quickly want to go and capture, more logistics, because then you can move. I think this gives you another 60. So you get 120, and you can move either twice as many troops, so you can equip them much better. And logistics is very important. It doesn't overflow like into research, but this is also used to invest in various things. For example, you can invest it into drone patrols to increase your visibility. So logistics really, really important. Later on, you can continue to evolve this, and it becomes more and more important part of your kind of operational ability. Okay, so that's logistics. And then lastly is civilian. So you can tell I'm not generating any civilian infrastructure right now, which means my people don't have enough food. Civilian infrastructure it covers food, oxygen, housing, all that stuff. So here on the map, the closest civilian infrastructure is here. So I would need to come here and capture this, because if I don't, the unrest will go up. For now, it's fine, and it takes a while until they really become unhappy with the lack of infrastructure. But it's something that I can't ignore, because if unrest goes all the way up, then my own people will rise up against me, and then I have a whole mission where I put down my own rebellion, or a rebellion against me. So civilian infrastructure, you do want to get it. As soon as you get it, these places are more heavily populated. So as soon as you capture this place, you will have a few people raising their hands saying, hey, I want to join your movement. And so you get a bunch of soldiers, but you also get this civilian infrastructure that you can invest into, for example, a training camp or, a med bay. And that's how you invest civilian infrastructure. It's very useful. If you have any excess civilian infrastructure, it overflows into solidarity, which is one of these new currencies. I'll explain. There's 3 of them. Very, very important for things like paying salaries and stuff. So those are the 3 types of infrastructure: energy, logistics, and civilian. And as soon as you capture one, it's useful. You get to grow stronger. So let's just play around with this example. So I spawn on energy. I could go and quickly take out these guys. They're not too strong, only 6 of them, and without probably good weapons. So then I would have 2 energy resources. So big boost to my research, but also I get an immediate boost to my guns. So I have even more powerful guns. Or I can go and capture logistics here, or food here to get more soldiers. Logistics is also, it's not just soldiers, it's also things like drones and things like that. So even if you don't have access to manpower, if you have a lot of logistics, you can bring robotic units and stuff like that to help you in battles. So hopefully you kind of start to see like the contours of like longer term thinking slowly developing. Like as you capture infrastructure, you get to make these long-term decisions. You also grow immediately stronger and more powerful. So hopefully like this improves that main point of feedback about rewards not feeling very good. Okay, now let's talk about social currencies. I just mentioned one, solidarity. I mentioned that civilian infrastructure, when you have excess civilian infrastructure, it'll overflow into solidarity. And there are 3 social currencies: solidarity, capital, and institution. And the main thing about these is that the first change, and you'll notice this right away, but everyone on Mars now demands a salary. Your workers, but also your soldiers, everyone wants to be paid. And the way you pay them is with these social currencies. I mean, stepping away from like the game, if you think about how you get someone to do something for you, there's like three ways to do of going about it, right? And this predates capitalism and socialism. I mean, this goes back to, I don't know, the beginning of organized civilization. Like, as a leader, how do you get your people to do stuff for you? First, the one that we're most familiar with is you get paid a material incentive, right? You get paid money. So that's capital. We all know this one. Number two is you can convince them in a non-threatening way. So, hey, do this for me, I'm your friend, or do it for God, or do it for your community, or whatever, or do it for yourself. You can convince them it's in their own best interest. Whatever way you do it in a non-threatening way, that's solidarity. And then the last one is you convince them in a threatening way. So historically that is like slavery, but also it could be indirect threats. Like today, if you don't work, then you're going to get thrown out of your house and no more food, right? So that's like an indirect threat. So that's the third way, and I call it institution. And so everyone demands a salary, and they have to be paid in one of these three. And there is a preference. The people here on Mars, they're part of our timeline. Is just a couple of decades in the future. So by default, everyone wants to be paid in monetary. So, but if you don't have this, the next one is solidarity. And if you don't have solidarity, then you better have institution. And if you don't have any of them, then your soldiers, the morale will go down, and then eventually they'll desert you. For your workers, you see this unrest. This is driven by a lot of different things, but not paying salaries will increase unrest. And again, you can pay it at any of these current social currencies, but if you don't have any, this unrest is going to go up. Besides paying salaries, these social currencies are also useful for a bunch of things. So here, if you look at this little infrastructure that we control, we can come in and we can manage our labor here. So you can spend solidarity to get them to work harder. Double productivity for 7 days, and then it's halved for a known number of days. But you get them to like, please guys, I really need you to work hard. Or you can pay them to work hard. Or you can just force them to work hard, crunch time, right? A lot of game developers will be, will know this one. There's many different ways you can spend. This is just some basic ones that you'll have in the playtest. There's going to be more. And these icons, I'm using these placeholders all over the place. I'll make more icons. But basically, these social currencies aren't just for paying salaries. You can also use them for one-off things. And most importantly, you can use them for longer-term things. So here, like this takes a lot of these social currencies, but you can really guide your society here on Mars in certain ways. You can get little bonuses, you can get bigger bonuses, you can get, really, really big bonuses. Like there's all kinds of stuff. And your question is, how do I get this, right? So solidarity, I mentioned, you generate it from excess civilian culture, but civilian infrastructure. But actually, this is not even the main way. The main way is that you do things for your people. As your people will demand things from you. For example, right now they're demanding I get food, right? Because this place doesn't have any food. I have a shortage. So if I come here or I go and I capture some other food source, they're going to reward me with a bunch of solidarity. They appreciate that I listen to them. And in return, they agree for their salaries to be quote unquote paid with solidarity, right? It's this kind of symbiotic, relationship. As the leader of the uprising, you listen to the people and they reward you with their trust. So solidarity comes from that. It comes from civilian infrastructure, but also from battles. If you perform during the battle, if you, for example, if no civilians are harmed, or if you actually protect civilians during the battle, they'll notice that, and so you'll get boost of solidarity that way, for example, also through events. Capital, as you can imagine, this is mostly generated by selling stuff to Earth. So right now, the workers are cut off from Earth, so we have nothing. And then institution. So this one is mostly gained from winning battles. Institution used to be called authority, but authority is kind of, it's a loaded word, right? There's a lot of baggage with that. You immediately associated with things like authoritarianism. I didn't want to have this negative kind of annotation. Institution is kind of just a measure of your competency and a measure of like your organizational cultural discipline, kind of. And so when you win battles, that earns you respect. People are like, okay, that's impressive. You know, this movement is actually something. And so actually this should not be 0. I just noticed. I don't think it generated, because I won a battle before this screen, so I should have some. But anyway, as you win battles, you earn this, and then you can spend it on stuff. And so again, you can spend it on things like, you know, imposing things. You can spend it on the salary, of course. You spend it on these things. You basically kind of instill this toughness in your people and organization and discipline. So you earn this from fights, from winning battles. Also, one more thing. Now you'll notice that each battle, there's a certain difficulty rating associated with it. If you come here, there's 6 enemies, right? And they're not too strong. Like 6 on 6 is a pretty even fight. So probably the difficulty rating will be around 1. The ratio will be 1. But if you come in here with 12 guys against 6, that ratio is going to be lower. At the same time, if you come in and you only have 2 soldiers against 6 of theirs, that rating is going to be much higher. So if you can defeat enemies, if you can win harder battles, you'll earn more institution. So those are social currencies. Moving on to the next point is agendas. So you'll see these more often. These are especially important, not just for labor, but also if you place capital. Your people will demand things from you. So right now, the people are demanding that I go get food. That gives you a big incentive to come over here and capture this civilian infrastructure so that we get into positive territory and our people can be fed. They will demand all kinds of things. Like if you're, you know, whatever you're lacking, they'll ask for it. They'll also ask for one-off things like, hey, you know, we found that there's a labor camp nearby. Please go liberate, you know, our friends in prison there. You'll have all kinds of stuff. And some of the missions will be about vehicles. You know, please intercept this. There's a VIP or, I don't know, a bunch of workers are being ferried to a labor camp. Please stop it. You'll see all kinds of, there's time-related agendas. There's long-term agendas, and it's up to you whether you listen or not, because mostly the people are focused on their short-term needs, but you as the leader, you can focus on long-term needs. So you can maybe ignore this and go and capture the energy infrastructure, which will boost your research, will give you better guns. You can move in a whole different direction. You can ignore this, and that's fine. But if you do, you know, satisfy this, you get a big boost of solidarity, which is very, very valuable. So agendas, keep a lookout for that. That there will be kind of like this guiding mechanic that hopefully adds more direction to the game. This screen, just real quick, you'll notice it's a lot simpler, right? Like there's no more dragging workers and stuff like that. A lot of micromanagement is gone. It's been simplified. You really just want to focus on productivity and unrest. This unrest, once it gets high enough, you'll notice that people might just go on strike, and this energy infrastructure gets taken offline. Or, you know, if things get really severe, they will rise up against you. So you will literally have to fight a mission against your own people. And if there's no one here, or if you lose, this falls into their hands. You no longer control it, so you'll have to recapture it. So managing, like, you know, this stuff, keep an eye on it, but it's not as micro heavy as before. You can also directly recruit people from here. So this costs solidarity or institution for like conscription. So you can instantly also get soldiers from here, specifically through here. But I'll let you explore that on your own. And then just real briefly, research. Research, before there was a whole tree. Now I've changed it into this kind of list because it gives me a lot more flexibility. And I don't want to overwhelm you because the last time the tree was like you get 40 things in your face, you don't even know where to begin. This way it's a little bit more structured. It works basically like XCOM. You know, if you do the alien autopsy, it opens up more options. And so for example here there's contact Earth, which is one of the ways you can contact Earth. Not just researching this, but other ways. You can armor plates, grenades, all kinds of stuff, and you'll see more over time. But one important thing is if you see, can be unlocked at New Haven Settlement, can be unlocked at Arbor Logistics Outpost. What this means is you can research stuff the traditional way, you know, by having energy infrastructure, or you can go and capture a location and instantly unlock this research topic. This is another example of front loading the rewards. So it's really up to you how you go about it. So even like this, right? Instead of spending 5,000 research to unlock this, you can go and find this settlement, probably this one I think, which has the antennas, and then you immediately get access. You know, you can move the story forward. You contact Earth. This is very heavily defended, so maybe it makes sense to instead do it through research. But yeah, so that's research. It's different now, but hopefully it gives you more flexibility in how to approach the strategy layer. One more thing is about equipment. I don't know if you saw, but here there is an infinity number. So equipment now, you don't have to manufacture it. This is handled by logistics, your logistics infrastructure. And the things that you've unlocked, you have unlimited amounts. So I can keep it equipping this. This will always stay the same. But for things that you don't have access to, like when you don't have access to the whole supply chain, like Earth weapons, there is a specific number, right? This one, infinite, because we can manufacture this on Mars. This stuff is not infinite, so there's a finite number. Okay, so I have one last big reveal, and maybe some of you already noticed this button down here. As you can tell, this is a pause button, and if I unpause the game, you'll see that this number is ticking up, and you'll see stuff moving around in real time. That's right, and I can even move my own units in real time, and it all moves in real time. And I can pause it and unpause it. Yeah, and I wasn't really planning on doing this ever because it's a lot of work, but I think just like in the depths of my despair the last couple of months, looking for a solution to this problem about the strategy layer, trying to fix it, I thought like, why does XCOM and Jagged Alliance, why their combat is turn-based, but their strategy layer is real-time? So I don't really know why, but so when I tried this, it just kind of felt better. And I even have a hard time articulating it. I think like just seeing the enemies move, just seeing things move, it just like changes, maybe like it refreshes the brain or something. But I thought it's a good change. But it's one reason why it's just taken so long to get this out to you guys. After you try the game, please let me know what you think. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me and listening to what I gotta say. And yeah, see you guys.